Hi everyone, you're very welcome to today's lesson, which is an introduction to problem-based learning. This lesson forms part of Module 5 of the Modern online course. Modern, which stands for Mobile and Digital E-Learning Toolkit, is an Erasmus Plus project funded by the European Commission. So just before we get started on today's topic, I'm going to give you a little bit of a reminder about the project. So the Modern project aims to help you teach more effectively. How? By incorporating new digital learning tools into your day-to-day teaching delivery. So the Modern online course then has two aims. The first aim is to showcase some of our favourite mobile and digital e-learning tools in practice. The second aim is to introduce you, the teacher, to some innovative teaching methods and approaches that you can use, some of which you can deliver using our mobile and digital tools. The course is the third output of the Modern project. We also have two other outputs which might be of interest to you. The first output is an audit of over 80 which you can use in the classroom. The second output is a pedagogic report of our top 20 tools chosen from that original 80 tools. And the third output, as I say, is this training course, and this offers you the opportunity to see a handful of those tools in practice. So getting on to today's topic, problem-based learning. It has been identified as one of the most innovative teaching methods. There's a whole list of them here, and you can see that inquiry-based and problem-based learning is highlighted in blue. Some others then, just to mention, technology-driven classrooms, the flipped classroom pedagogy, linked curriculum with life, which is all about skill building, collaborative learning, which is quite a big one now. We look at this further in Module 5 and also in Module 1 if you'd like to learn some more about that. Differential learning, activity-based learning, and interdisciplinary learning. But the one we're going to focus on in this particular lesson, as we mentioned, is problem-based learning. So what is problem-based learning? Problem-based learning, often seen in acronym form as PBL, involves designing a curriculum which at the core there is a set of problems. The role of the teacher in problem-based learning then is very much that of a facilitator. It's much more than a technique or a fashionable fad in education. It's actually a total approach to higher and vocational education. And the case study which we are going to look at in the next slide will give us a deeper look at that. So let's have a look.
Welcome to Maastricht University. Are you ready? Wait a minute. That's what you were expecting, but that's not how we do it. Small tutorial groups, that's better. Maastricht University is known for problem-based learning, PBL. We solve complex problems ourselves using real-life cases. Each group has 12 to 15 students, and we divide the different tasks between ourselves. Dozing in lecture halls is not an option. We all participate actively in the discussion. One student leads the discussion, ensuring that it stays on track. To make sure we don't forget anything, the secretary takes notes of what we say. The other students too play an active part. Together, we ensure that the group process runs as smoothly as possible. So what does the tutor do? He or she is specially trained to monitor the whole process, making sure we don't miss anything. But we often make good progress by ourselves, and so the tutor stays in the background. Let's get back to the case. A case is a problem from everyday professional practice. We each receive a text describing the case, and we read it carefully. The case is complicated. We'll need strategy and teamwork to solve the problem. The tutorials provide a safe environment where we learn to communicate effectively, discuss and cooperate with one another. We start by examining the case. Through active brainstorming, we try to get a picture of the puzzle and its individual pieces. We're often amazed at how much we already know. The next step is to cluster the pieces of information. Theories are separated from experience, causes from consequences. In this way, we get a good idea of the structure of the problem. Finally, for each category, we search for the missing pieces of the puzzle. Based on what we need to find out, we formulate learning goals. These are concrete questions that help us to identify the required information. The tutorial is over. It's time to go and do some research. Working independently and using the research skills we've learned, we each look for answers to the learning goals set during the tutorial. The university library is home to the learning and resource centres and all sorts of other resources. After a few days, we meet again. In this session, we each present our findings. Based on what we have found out, we try to arrive at a solution. Usually, this goes fine, but sometimes it can be hard to bring all the information together, as not everyone has come up with the same findings. Fortunately, the tutor is there to help us reach a consensus. The knowledge and experience of the tutor come in handy. We repeat this process in every tutorial. In addition, we also have lectures. This helps us get prepared for the exams. Now you know how PBL works, but do you also know why we use it? The reason is clear. With PBL, we learn more than just facts. We learn to conduct our own research, to think and work in a solution-focused way. We learn to collaborate with others and deal with feedback, and we are always actively involved in the tutorials. In this way, we remember more. Not least because the tutorials always alternate with practicals and skills training sessions. The skills vary per program, from analysing statistical data to pleading a court case or examining a patient. What's more, we work in teams. This experience will come in handy in our future careers. We learn to understand and respect other people's points of view. And our students come from all over the world. This makes our learning environment highly international, dynamic and innovative. Problem-based learning at Maastricht University, giving you a solid foundation for your career.
So that little video gives us a really interesting look at how Maastricht University in the Netherlands is using project-based learning. Just a little bit of a background into the university. It is one of the most international universities in the Netherlands with over 16,000 students, 4,000 employees, and it is still growing. And this university, as you can imagine from what we see in the video, it stands out for its innovative education model, international character and multidisciplinary approach to research and education. So a very innovative university. The problem-based learning aspect then, this has been in place since the university was founded. And the university feels that the small-scale and personal and problem-based learning challenges not only help their students to learn their subject matter, but it's also instrumental in developing their talents and interests and life skills such as self-reliance, assertiveness, problem-solving. So Maastricht University have really embraced the power and the potential of problem-based learning. Having a look at what their students have to say, and this is taken from their website. They have a whole section dedicated to problem-based learning. The First Lady, her main comment is that being active in class is much easier in a problem-based learning environment. It's helped her to become more open and more self-confident. Testimonial number 2, which we can see here from Vincent, he comments that being in class, sometimes he felt like he was in a boardroom with colleagues and that they were making strategic decisions. So taking that one comment, we can see how problem-based learning not only works in education, but it has implications into future careers. The third testimonial then talks about how relationships with professors and teachers is on a much more one-to-one basis, much more open, and tends to be a little bit more informal. So some very interesting comments there from the students on how they feel about problem-based learning and the benefits that they see. So the next slide looks at how problem-based learning differs from traditional teaching methods. So traditional learning, let's look at that first. So it focuses primarily on factual topics, very much subject-based knowledge. Here in the traditional model, the teacher is the content expert and dispenser of knowledge. Quite often the learning can occur in a passive format where the teacher dictates or lectures the student and the student absorbs it, but they are not really actively involved in the process. So on the other side here in the blue box we have problem-based learning. So its focus is very much on usable and transferable skills, problem solving, self-study, teamwork and collaboration. In the problem-based learning approach, the teacher becomes much more of a facilitator than a dispenser of knowledge. In the problem-based learning approach, learning is a very active process with the students very much engaged in each of the steps. There are 5 main steps and we will look at those in a little while. Problem-based learning also, as you can imagine from what we've learned, can lead to an increased retention rate of content. So just looking at that retention of information a little bit further, here's a question for you. After 24 hours, what % of information do you think your students retain after a lecture? 5%, 10%, 20%, 30%, 50%? All of these are quite low. I'm sure that's the first thing that strikes you. The next slide will give us our answers. So, this is quite an interesting study, and it's based on the forgetting curve, which tells us that within 1 hour, people will have forgotten an average of 50% of the information you presented. Within 24 hours, they will have forgotten an average of 70% of new information. And within 1 week, they can have forgotten up to 90% of the information that was presented. So that's some really interesting and thought-provoking figures there to think about. And I guess this kind of harks back to the whole idea of our modern project, is that if you can incorporate new and innovative ways of teaching, then hopefully it can improve the learning process for your learners and indeed improve your teaching approaches as well. So just a few more reasons to use problem-based learning, and we have seen this in the example from the Maastricht video. Problem-based learning enables students to learn an awful lot more than just facts. They learn how to conduct their own research, they learn to think and work in a solution-focused manner, so very much problem solving. They learn how to collaborate with others and to deal with others' feedback, and they're always actively involved. With regard to the modern project, problem-based learning for us, the main reason why it's useful is that it creates a dynamic and innovative learning environment, and it's particularly suited to adult learners. Why is it so suited to adult learners? Well, there are a number of reasons why, and we'll go through them now. The first reason, adults are motivated and self-directed. Their learning activities need to offer minimum instruction and maximum autonomy. That very much is ticked when we use the problem-based learning approach. Adults are also informed by life experience and knowledge. They want to use the knowledge that they have gained from past experience. Adults are goal-orientated. Learning activities for them need to motivate inquiry and further research. What we've learned about problem-based learning so far in this little lesson is that it is inquiry-based and it does require further research. Adults are relevancy-oriented. That means that they want real-life learning activities that they can use. Adults are practical. This kind of links back to the last one, but activities that include real-life situations and a move from theory to hands-on problem solving really suits them. They really want to get to the nuts and bolts of things and figure things out. In problem-based learning, the role of the teacher is that of a facilitator. They support learners as they learn and develop skills. They help them assess evidence. They teach them how to negotiate. They work with them as they make informed decisions. They help them work through problems. And they guide them to work effectively on their own and also with others. So now that you've learned about problem-based learning and you have an idea of how it works, these are some steps that you can take away and you can use to start using problem-based learning yourself in your own classroom. Step 1 involves exploring the issues. This step involves you, the teacher, introducing an ill-structured problem to your class. The class then discusses the problem statement and lists its significant parts. Learners may feel that they don't know enough to solve the problem, but that's a good thing. That's where the challenge is. Step 2. Here's where you'll divide the learners into groups. Once in their groups, students will start to list what they know. This includes what they actually know, as well as the strengths and capabilities of each team member. At this stage, they may start to designate roles. One person may become a chair, someone else may become a scribe. That's the designated note taker for the group, who will jot down all of the information that the group puts forward. Step 3 then is working on the problem. So this is where the learners will work on the problem statement from their group's analysis. Step 3 then is developing the problem. This is where learners will work on a problem statement based on the group's analysis of what they know and what they will need to know to solve the problem. The problem statement consists of a written statement which is agreed by the group. The note at the end just nods to the fact that the problem statement can be reviewed and revisited as the process goes forward. Step 4. Once the problem has been defined, the students or learners have assessed what they know and have figured out what they need to know, the next step is filling in the skills gaps. This is where the students conduct their own work to come up with solutions. Once the solutions have been gathered, together they will assess the solutions, they will rank them, and they will order them from strongest to weakest. Once the ordering has taken place, they'll discuss and they will choose the best solution or the one most likely to succeed. Step 5. Once the solution has been chosen, it's time for the students to start backing up their solution with supporting documentation. Remember, at the end of this process, the learners are going to have to present their idea to the class, so they need to be able to back up their solution with concrete evidence. To do so, they'll start creating a document which will include the problem statement, questions that they had about the problem, the data that they've gathered and analysis of that, the solutions that they gathered, the reasons why they chose the best solution, and their overall conclusion as to why that was the best solution. So by now in this lesson, you'll have seen a case study from university of how they're using problem-based learning. You'll have an idea of some of the benefits of problem-based learning. You'll also have an idea of how the process works. All that's really left right now is to wish you the very best with implementing some new problem-based learning activities into your course curriculum. We hope that you have found this lesson to be useful. We have also gathered some resources and extra links that you can use for some extra additional learning. If you have any questions or queries about this module, or indeed any of the modules or the other outputs which the modern mobile, digital and e-learning toolkit project has produced, we would welcome you to contact us using the contact form on the www.modernpm website. Thanks for your time and thanks for watching.